Chapter 3, Inward Bound, Episode 3. Welcome back to the Inward Bound. I'm Deb, your host today. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to share a gentle disclaimer. In this podcast, I speak openly about trauma, loss, and healing. My goal is to share my personal journey, not to offer you medical or psychological advice. Please listen with care, be mindful of your emotional state, and take breaks or seek support if any part of this episode brings up different feelings. You are not alone, you are safe here, and I honor you for joining me. Parents do the best they can with what they know how to. If parents knew better, they would do better. In our last episode, we opened the door to deeper layers of childhood trauma, the parts of our story that shaped how we learned to survive. We looked at the patterns we picked up along the way, such as the people-pleasing, the disappearing, the fear of abandonment, and the ways our nervous system tried so hard to protect us. And as painful as some of those truths were, naming them gave us something powerful, called clarity. A moment to see not only our own wounds, but also the wounds of the people who raised us. That understanding is part of healing. Today, in Episode 3, we're taking the next step. We're moving from simply recognizing our survival patterns to understanding the impact they had on our lives, our relationships, and even on the generations that come after us. This is where awareness becomes choice, where pain becomes insight, and where we begin shifting from surviving to gently learning what it means to truly live. So take a breath, settle in, and let's walk into Episode 3 together with honesty, compassion, and the courage to keep going. The last fight in the home we all shared, I remember my mom left the house to go down the street to her girlfriend's house. I remember my older brother and I dressed my younger sister and brother, grabbed some diapers, and headed down the street to find her. When my mom opened the door and saw us all four standing there together, I imagine her heart must have stopped for a moment. She likely felt shock, not just at seeing us, but at realizing we understood something was wrong without anyone telling us. Then fear that she had left too suddenly, fear that she had scared us, fear that her pain had spilled over onto the very people she wanted to protect. And then love, overwhelming, heart-deep love mixed with guilt. The kind of guilt mothers carry when they see their children taking on more than they should. In that moment, she may have seen that we no longer were just her little ones. We were already becoming survivors, breeding danger instead of safety. She may have felt torn in two, relieved that we found her, and devastated that we needed to. I wonder if, in that moment, my mother realized how closely we were watching, how early we were learning to read fear, tension, and silence. Seeing all four of us might have felt like a mirror she wasn't ready to face, a reflection of how deeply the chaos had already shaped us. She may have felt shame, not from failure, but from longing to keep us safe, longing to protect us, longing to be more than life allowed her to be. And maybe beneath the heartbreak, she felt resolve too. I can't go back. I have to find another way. I don't know exactly what my mom felt when she saw us at the neighbor's door, but I imagine it was a mix of fear, love, and heartbreak. Fear that we had followed her into a moment she hoped would protect us. Love so strong it probably took her breath away, and heartbreak realizing her kids were already surviving instead of feeling safe. The shared trauma that shaped both generations. This is not about blame. This is about finally seeing her and myself clearly. After that day, the fight, the leaving, the walking down the street with my older brother and sister and little brother, life changed again. My mother took all of us with her. I'm still not fully sure if that moment marked the official start of the first divorce, and if it was simply the point where everything cracked open. But what I do know is that it created rupture. Another move, another moment where childhood dissolved without explanation. Before the divorce was final, there was a day that stayed with me. My mom took us back to the house where we had lived in with my stepdad so we could retrieve clothes and toys. It was supposed to be a simple, just gather what belonged to us and leave. But nothing about that day was simple. The doors were locked, we couldn't get inside, and the toys we loved were in the little playhouse in the backyard, a place that at once felt safe, a place that once held pieces of our childhood. I watched my mother, exhausted and overwhelmed, break a window in that playhouse just so we could get our things. The sound of breaking glass felt like the sound of our lives splitting apart. It wasn't anger. It wasn't destruction. It was desperation. A mother trying to preserve something familiar for her children when everything else was unraveling. As a child, I didn't understand it. I only felt sadness. That playhouse had once been filled with laughter. Now it was something we had to break into just to take what was left. Some losses are loud, others are quiet. This one was quiet, and it stayed with me. Not long after leaving, my mom did something bold, something terrified, something brave. She walked into a well-known restaurant chain, applied for a job, stood in front of the manager, and lied about having experience waiting tables. And lo and behold, he gave her the job. She had never waited a table in her life, but survival required creativity. Survival required courage. Survival required doing whatever it took to feed 4 children and build a life from the ashes of the one that collapsed. Looking back now, I don't see dishonesty. I see a 20-some-year-old girl trying to survive a life that forced her to grow up overnight. Her survival strategies become the blueprint I learned too. Do whatever you have to. Figure it out later. Be strong even when you're breaking. Don't wait for permission. Just go. I sometimes wonder what it was like for my stepdad to come back that day and find the house empty. No voices, no children, no movement, just silence where life had been. Coming home to an empty house may have confronted him with something he hadn't been ready to face: the consequences of his behavior. The silence would have left no distractions, no one to blame, no noise to drown out the truth. There may have been a mix of loss, defensiveness, and discomfort. The emotional jolt of recognizing that something had ended long before he was willing to acknowledge it. For someone who coped through avoidance or control, the emptiness would have been deeply destabilizing. Whatever my stepdad felt that day does not outweigh what we felt as children. Understanding his experience doesn't minimize ours. It simply allows the story to be seen from all sides, without blame and without erasing the impact that we lived through. Exploring this moment isn't about justifying behavior. It's about understanding the emotional landscape around a traumatic event. It helps integrate our story, his experience, my mother's experience, my siblings' experience, and my own childhood experience. This is how trauma stories become whole and how healing becomes possible. After she filed for the divorce, something shifted in her. Maybe it was fear, maybe determination, maybe both. But somehow she managed to buy a house. She was young, working at her first job, doing everything she could to create stability. And she did it. She secured a home for us. But the victory came with heartbreak. In the divorce, my stepdad took the 2 younger ones, my younger sister and brother. One moment, we were 4 children walking down the street together searching for mom. And the next, we were divided between households, like pieces of a life that no longer fit together. Children don't experience divorce through paperwork. They experience it through absence, through an empty bed, a missing laugh, a sibling who doesn't come home anymore. I don't understand it then. I didn't understand it then. I still don't fully understand it now. But that moment carved another message into my attachment system. People you love can disappear without warning. What my younger sister and brother may have felt when their dad got custody maybe a deep confusion. They couldn't put it into words. Young children don't understand legal processes. They only feel the separation. They may have wondered why we weren't going with Mom, if they had done something wrong, or why everything was changing again. And then loyalty torn in two directions. Children often feel an unspoken pressure to be loyal to the parent they are with, while still loving and missing the parent they are separated from. This can create a quiet guilt and inner conflict. Missing Mom and family, even if they didn't say it, they may have carried a constant sense of missing home, missing familiar routines, and missing the comfort of family even during moments that looked okay on the outside. Fear of abandonment or being left again. Repeated separations can leave children feeling unsafe in their bodies, worried about losing people they love, or uncertain about what will happen next. Adapting to survive, children often become quieter, more compliant, or overly helpful as a way to stay emotionally safe. This adaptation is not a sign they were fine. It is a sign they were surviving. Hidden fragments, grief. Their grief likely appeared in small moments. They probably felt it at bedtime, during holidays, at school events, or when they felt vulnerable, rather than as one clear emotional expression. Siblings often become each other's emotional anchor during painful transitions, forming a deep bond rooted in shared experience and unspoken understanding. In many ways, they were just little hearts trying to make sense of adult-sized pain. After the divorce, our family existed in two separate worlds. Some weekends, I would go spend time with my younger siblings in their new home. Not my brother, he didn't go. Other weekends, they came to see us. We were still a family, just a divided one. It was strange, being together and apart at the same time. One moment I was their big sister in the same house, and the next I was a visitor. Connection turned into visitation. Togetherness turned into scheduling. And yet every time we saw each other, something in me lit up. A sense of belonging that felt like home, even if home itself had split in two. I didn't have the words for it then, but those weekends carried an ache, a longing, a quiet confusion about why our lives had to be divided when our hearts weren't. As children, we just lived the arrangements adults created. We didn't understand the why, only the distance. But even in the back and forth, even in the shifting households, even in the separation, we still reached for each other. We still showed up. We still found our way back on weekends, holding on to whatever pieces of family we could. During the divorce and after the divorce, I blocked that chunk of time. When I blocked out how I felt, these are the moments in our childhood story that become too big for our little bodies to hold. And when that happens, the mind steps in like a guardian and gently places those memories behind a closed door. Not because we're weak, but because we were too young to carry the weight of adult-sized pain. As children, we don't have the words for what's happening around us. All we have is our nervous system, doing everything it can do to keep us safe. And sometimes that means freezing the feelings that were too overwhelming to process. You may not remember how you felt back then, but your body does. Your younger self was trying to survive adults who were overwhelmed, hurting, and making decisions that shaped your entire world. You were watching your mother struggle, watching siblings separated, and living inside uncertainty no child should ever have to navigate. In moments like that, emotions don't disappear, they go silent. Now, as an adult who is healing, sharing, and finally safe, the door of those frozen feelings begins to open. Not to harm me, but because my mind finally trusts. It believes. I'm ready now, I'm supported, and I'm safe. Blocking out how you felt is not forgetting, it is protection. It is survival. It is what kept us going. And now healing means letting those feelings thaw gently, not all at once, not in a rush, just slowly enough for the heart to stay steady. If you find yourself emotional, tired, nauseated, or overwhelmed as these truths surface, this is your body releasing what it was held for far too long. This is not a setback. This is opening of a chapter where you finally get to feel, finally get to heal. You're not alone, and you never were. How my younger sister and brother may have felt when they went to live with their dad. Probably confusion beyond their years. They were only 4 and 6. Children cannot understand custody or long-term separation. They likely felt confused, unsure why their world was changing again, and unable to put into words what was happening around them. A sense of being pulled in two directions. Children that young often feel loyalty conflicts. They love both parents and feel torn, even when they don't have the language to express it. Children miss routines, familiar voices, and emotional safety, even if they cannot express it. Fear of more change, every shift in home life creates nervous system instability. They may have worried subconsciously about more loss or separation. Trying to adapt to their new environment, children often become extra compliant or quiet in new situations to feel safe. This does not mean they were fine. It means they were surviving. Their grief would show up in small moments. Bedtime, transitions, sudden tears, because children grieve in pieces, not in full stories. Protecting each other, siblings cling to each other during instability. They may have silently tried to keep one another safe. They were simply children, doing the best they could with circumstances far beyond their understanding. Possible reasons my mother may have given custody to my stepdad. My mom may have been emotional and physically exhausted. A young mother grieving, overwhelmed, and under significant stress she may have felt she couldn't manage all the responsibilities alone. Believing it was best in the moment, she may have thought their father could have offered more stability or resources she didn't feel capable of providing at the time. Or maybe he pressured her or influenced her. He may have been persuasive, insistent, financially stronger, or legally advantaged, leaving her feeling she had little ability to fight. Mom did say at one time the younger two had mentioned they wanted to live with their dad, and so she said she'd let them. In that moment of comfort or attention can feel huge to an already overwhelmed parent. Financial or legal limitations, many mothers surrender custody not out of lack of love, but because they cannot afford the battle or fear they won't win. Fear of failing all her children, she may have believed, if I can't care for everyone, I must do what I can for the ones I can keep with me. This is a survival response, not abandonment. Trying to protect herself emotionally, saying they wanted to live with him, may have been in her way to soften the pain and protect herself from guilt or judgment. The deeper truth, mothers rarely give up their children because they don't love them. More often, they do it because they feel trapped, powerless, overwhelmed, or alone. Understanding this brings compassion and clarity to a decision shaped by pain, circumstance, and possible choices. Understanding my sisters and brothers' lifelong choices, early separation and attachment injury. Both my younger sister and brother were separated from my mother at ages 4 and 6, ages far too young to lose their primary attachment figure. This early loss created an emotional wound that shaped the course of their lives in ways that were not visible on the surface, but deeply powerful underneath. Your sister's path, returning after a mental breakdown, your younger sister After having a mental breakdown and emotional collapse in adulthood, moved back with mom and stayed until the end of her life. This reflects the deep attachment injuries she carried. Returning to your mother was not regression. It was a return to the emotional home she lost too soon. Her breakdown likely cracked open the childhood wounds she had carried silently her entire life. My brother's path, he never married, and staying with my mom, my brother's choice to never marry and to live with my mother after my sister passed, even though he has financial stability and property, speaks to similar underlying trauma. Adults who experience early attachment rupture often avoid intimate relationships because vulnerability feels dangerous. Remaining with mom represents safety, belonging, and a way of reconnecting with the original attachment figure he was separated from too soon. Adult behavior rooted in childhood trauma, early separation often results in fear of abandonment, difficulty forming adult relationships or partnerships, emotional shutdown or self-reliance, returning to the parent later in life, strong loyalty to the parent they were taken from, lifelong attempts to repair the original wound. The pattern is not coincidence. It is trauma physiology. Why both siblings returned home, even though their adult lives looked different, their nervous systems were carrying the same wound. Returning home to mom was not simply about needing a place to live. It was about reclaiming the relationship they lost, restoring emotional safety, healing early separation, anchoring themselves after life became overwhelming. And I was a witness and a healer in the sibling who sees the full story. Intergenerational trauma, the emotional truth beneath everyone's behavior, and the impact of early separation on the whole family. By naming this pattern, I am helping to bring clarity, compassion, and healing to wounds that were carried silently for decades. This pattern does not reflect weakness. It reflects survival, attachment injury, and the long arc of trauma seeking repair. Through the time my younger sister was sick, mentally and then physically, I was so mad at her for not taking care of herself. And I felt so guilty for the longest time until I realized I was grieving her dying even before she passed. The anger I felt toward my sister for not taking care of herself was a protector for a deeper heartbreak. I wasn't angry at her as a person. I was devastated at the thought of losing her. Anger became the mask my grief wore because the pain underneath was too heavy to touch directly. Carrying the family's burden since childhood, growing up in trauma made me the strong one, the responsible one, and the emotional caretaker for the whole family. When my sister didn't follow medical advice, it triggered my lifelong role of keeping everyone alive and safe. Her choices clashed with the part of me that has always been in survival mode. Old childhood helplessness rising to the surface, seeing my sister decline, brought back the helplessness I felt in childhood. Losing my father, being separated from my siblings, and living inside unpredictable circumstances. My body remembered these early losses. Anger was the nervous system's attempt to avoid feeling powerless again. Anger at the unfairness, not at her. My anger carried questions like, why won't she fight for her life? Why won't she choose to stay? We already lost so much. Why more? This emotion came from love, desperation, and fear, not judgment. I was grieving her before she was gone. This form of grief often shows up as frustration, irritability, or intense emotion. I wasn't angry because she didn't listen. I was angry because I was already losing her. Anger at the trauma that stole so much. Part of my anger was toward the trauma that shaped her, the childhood wounds, the emotional pain, the lifelong patterns that limited her ability to care for herself. I wasn't angry at who she was. I was angry at what trauma took from her. Anger as a sign of deep love. We only feel that level of anger for people who matter to us. My anger was proof of my love, not the opposite. It was fear of losing her. It was wanting more life for her. It was my heart trying to keep her here. The truth beneath it all, I was angry because I couldn't bear losing her. I was angry because I loved her deeply. I was angry because I saw her value even when she didn't. My anger was never about blame. It was the language my pain spoke. Transition into attachment patterns. Attachment patterns don't come from one event. They form from repeated emotional climates like these. Here's what a child's body learns in an environment like this. Safety can disappear at any moment. Adults may leave or lose control. You must stay alert. You must hold things together. You must take responsibility without being asked. These aren't character traits. These are adaptations. How these childhood moments shapes adulthood. As we grow older, these early lessons become long-term patterns. Hyper-independence, people-pleasing, overgiving, choosing emotional, unavailable partners or husbands or wives, fear of abandonment, difficulty resting, feeling responsible for everyone else's emotions. These are not flaws. These are survival strategies saved by moments just like this. This has touched you. Place a hand on your heart. You're safe now. This is meaning making. This is healing. Thank you for spending this time with me today, for listening with an open heart, and for honoring the tender places we've explored. Healing isn't loud or dramatic. It's the quiet understanding, the soft truth-telling, the gentle moments of recognizing how our past still lives in our body, our choices, and our story. As you leave this episode, take a deep breath and let yourself feel grounded. You don't need to figure out everything at once. You don't need to revisit the painful parts before you're ready. You're allowed to move at your own pace. Remember, healing unfolds in layers, and every layer you uncover is a step toward clarity, compassion, and freedom, both for yourself and for the people you love. Thank you for walking this journey with me. You're not alone. And as always, may peace touch the places in you that have waited the longest. Until next time, take gentle care of yourself. My story started in trauma, but my path became one of awakening. I pray something in each of the Inward Bound episodes reminds you of your own strength, your own wisdom, and your ability to rise and heal with your higher power alongside of you. As you move forward, take a moment to honor yourself. You showed up, you listened, and you allowed your spirit to be witnessed. That is powerful. If something in today's episode touched your heart, I invite you to carry it with you. Let it guide you. Let it soften the places that still ache. Healing is not a destination. It is a returning again and again to who you truly are. I would love to hear your story of healing from losing a parent at a young age. Please text me if you may need guidance and help in maneuvering your healing. I am a licensed coach. I worked with a psychotherapist for 20 years, as well as a practicing RN. I would love to hear what helped you, and you may have ideas for my healing. You can text me at Deb RN, InwardBound@AOL.com, or we now have a spot on Reddit. If you want to ask questions, go ahead and ask them there, and I may even answer your questions on the podcast. Remember, the two most important relationships in my opinion, in our lives is the one we have with our higher power, whether it be universe, it's God for me, and the relationship you have with yourself. Thanks for being here, trusting me with your time. Until next time, keep walking inward, keep listening to your spirit, and keep choosing yourself. Inward Bound isn't a retreat, it's a return. a return to truth, a return to parts of us we learned to silence. If this chapter resonated with you, honor that. There is nothing to fix right now. Healing begins with noticing, not repairing. Awareness is brave. Slowing down is brave. Listening is brave. This is Deb's world. Inward Bound opens the door to understanding our behaviors, our relationships, and our coping mechanisms, and how we can act and react in ways when we're triggered. Big shout out to my editor, Jordan. Chapter 4 is about life after divorce. Stay tuned. This may have been into your story too. I'm going to close by sending you more love, peace, joy, and happiness. God bless.